Welcome back to Giant Steps with Leilani Brown. If you're listening to this or you're watching it, it means you've been on this journey with us, and I am so grateful. This is our season 3 finale, and I wanted to take a moment to do something a little different today. Instead of bringing on a new guest, I wanted to take a look back because this season has been something special and also very intentionally planned. When we started planning season 3, we knew that we had an opportunity to meet the moment. And the moment was this. People were losing their jobs, a lot of people, and layoffs were happening across every single industry, including the federal government. And at the same time, the ground was shifting under everyone's feet with real and perceived disruption from technology, emerging technology like AI, and more. People weren't just asking, what's next? They were really asking, am I going to be okay? So we made a deliberate choice this season. We brought in guests who could speak to this moment, not with theory and not with platitudes, but with practical, actionable things that you could use right now. Whether you were navigating a layoff, questioning your career path, trying to lead a team through uncertainty, or knew someone who was, just trying to figure out how to stay relevant when the rules kept changing, we wanted every episode to give you something that you could walk away with and apply. We welcomed some incredible guests this season. A Harvard psychiatrist who taught us how to get past the shame that often comes with losing a job. A career reinvention strategist who showed us how to turn disruption into an opportunity in the age of AI. A financial planner, my financial planner, who gave us the practical tools to stabilize your finances during a career transition. A best-selling author who challenged us to rebuild the trust that's breaking down in so many workplaces right now. And a transformational leader who asked us a question that we're still thinking about. If people weren't paid, would they still follow you? And then finally, Jira Michael, our executive producer, even turned the show around on me and put me in the hot seat with no prep, no script, just rapid fire questions on a Friday afternoon. And I have to say, it was one of the most fun and revealing episodes that I think we've ever done. So today I'm sharing what you told us were the best moments from season 3 and the top lessons, the ones that made you pause, rewind, and share with a friend. So let's get into it. Big change doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it starts with a single step. That's why I'm excited to host leaders, innovators, great thinkers, and everyday people sharing their stories and practical insights you can use right now. Wherever you are in your journey, whether you're just starting out, looking to make a pivot, or ready to reinvent yourself, you'll find both information and inspiration right here. This is Giant Steps, and I'm Leilani Brown. We opened season 3 with the conversation so many of you needed to hear. Dr. Helen Riess, Harvard psychiatrist, empathy researcher, and the author of The Empathy Effect. She sat down with us at a moment when millions of people were dealing with job loss. And what Helen zeroed in on was the one thing nobody talks about, the shame. That voice that whispers that you're not enough after a layoff, the rejection, the silence between applications, all of that. And then she gave us a reframe that I keep coming back to. And she said, how would you talk to a friend going through this? Because that's how you need to talk to yourself. Self-compassion isn't soft. It actually is the stronger foundation for whatever comes next. Listen to this.
I love what you said a couple minutes ago about self-compassion, because realizing that this happens to every human being, like you're not some, person with the mark of Cain on their forehead, like you're now some bad person. You're a person who has experienced woundedness.
Right.
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 And so many times an initial reaction is tremendous anger at the organization or at a boss. But that's really a stand-in for just feeling like, I've been rejected and it really hurts. And how do I treat myself with the same compassion that I would give if this happened to my friend?
Right.
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 And so that way of reframing how you talk to yourself, sometimes it has to be modeled by a therapist or a parent or a friend. It can be anybody, but that self-empathy is a much stronger motivator for your next role and your next step than self-criticism.
Mhm.
So trying to get people to just change the self-talk.
Yeah. Now, if Helen helped us deal with the emotional side, Rachel Tully gave us the strategy. Rachel is the founder of Still Human and a former leader at Tesla, Venmo, Ford, and the SEC. So she's seen disruption from every single angle, including the AI shift that's reshaping the entire industry right now. And she brought this unforgettable framework she calls the Boa Constrictor Approach. And here's the short version. Stop spraying and praying with 2,000 applications. Identify your target, surround it, and close in with precision and purpose. She used it to land a role at Tesla while her business school classmates were exhausting themselves blanketing every bank on the street. I love this clip because it gives you a completely different way to approach the job search, and it actually works.
A boa constrictor hunts its prey. It will identify its target. Let's say it's a bunny rabbit or something like that. And it will stalk its prey, and then it will slowly move in, and it will create a perimeter around the prey, and then it will just move closer and closer and closer, and it will suffocate its prey, and there it has lunch. So a lot of advice that we all are given is volume based when doing a job search, like apply to as many places as possible. Through my work as a career strategist for people navigating AI and general career uncertainty, I hear things like I've applied to 2,000 jobs, and of course there's not much, they don't get much juice out of that squeeze. So I developed my own strategy after seeing some of my peers in business school. They would apply for really all 20 investment banks that they were targeting or that were hiring from my business school. And they were so exhausted and beaten down. And I remember saying to one of my peers, I said, why don't you just target like 5? And he was like, I don't know. This is what you're supposed to do.
This next episode was the episode so many of you told us that you actually needed. With layoffs hitting every single sector, tech, media, finance, healthcare, Mike Daniels brought the conversation nobody else was having, the money. When you're in the middle of a job loss, the emotional toll is real, and so is the financial pressure, and that pressure can push you into desperate situations. And what I love about Mike is that even though he's a numbers guy, a certified financial planner, the first thing he tells people is not to open a spreadsheet. It's to pause, to breathe, get your mind together, and then, and only then, sit down and look at your priorities. Shelter, food, transportation, and that was the power move. Because financial clarity in a crisis isn't about having all the answers. It's all about not making a panic decision when the strategic one is available. Listen to this.
Well, the first thing, and it's interesting because everyone thinks of me as a numbers guy, right? As soon as I say I'm a financial planner or a wealth advisor, they assume that all I do are spreadsheets, numbers, figures, charts, graphs, right? But I'm part-time, kind of like a psychiatrist, thinking about people's mental health, right? So I would start with the first thing that I want to help people address is, just getting their mental capacity together. It could be very traumatic to be impacted by a layoff or your job is eliminated. So I first want to have people pause and just, allow themselves to breathe for a moment to get their mind back together. Then we can start talking about, okay, what are next steps? To me, the first step would be, let's consider what are your top priorities. All right. We need shelter. We need food. We need clothing. We need transportation. Let's kind of, spend a moment to evaluate what those figures are. Let's take a look at the resources available to us within our household to address those needs. And then I kind of walk through more details with a family with a household.
Here's what happens inside organizations when layoffs start and uncertainty takes hold. trust collapses. People stop speaking up, communication does not feel safe, belonging becomes performative. Minda Harts is a best-selling author and one of the most honest voices on the workplace culture, and she came on the show and named what so many people are feeling right now. She introduced us to our groundbreaking 7 Trust Languages framework, a practical, actionable approach to rebuilding communication, restoring belonging, and fostering trust when everything feels unstable. And I'm going to give Minda a little extra room in this episode because honestly, this conversation had so many moments that stopped us in our tracks, and I want you to hear 3 of them. The first is a story about what trust looks like when a leader gets it right and what it can cost.
I didn't realize that trust was as important to me until a former manager of mine sat our team down and pretty much said, winter is coming, layoffs are around the corner, let's get you all up on your skills, make sure you're leveling up, coaching, but I want you to be able to make decisions because I know how it feels when you're blindsided. And I didn't realize how important that information was. He put his neck out on the line, and I realized that transparency was a strong trust language for me, right? Having some clarity, having some honesty. And one of our team members ended up pretty much telling on him that he gave us that heads up, and eventually he lost his job. And, you know, there sometimes is a cost when we're transparent, but I also talk about in the book how we can be transparent and leave people breadcrumbs without things just blindsiding them completely, because we can still leave people with their humanity and dignity, even when we have to have tough conversations.
That story gets me every single time. A leader who chose transparency, even when it wasn't convenient and even when it cost him. Now, on the flip side, here's what it looks like when leaders don't make that choice.
It is traumatizing, right? I mean, just think about it. Like, you show up to work at 9 a.m. and by like 10:10, you're told to pack your bags or leave. That's traumatizing, right? After you just had a all staff retreat last week. And I think that sometimes our leaders, again, it's not intentional that you would want to do this to someone. I mean, layoffs happen, reorgs happen. That's just the nature of business. But the way we disseminate that information, we probably knew that that layoff was coming, not at 10:10, right? We could have prepared people. We could have had different kinds of conversations so that people realize that, you know what, this is not a performance issue. This is a business case right now, and we're not able to, right? Being able to explain it so that people don't fill in the gaps for themselves. Because if we fill in the gaps with the story or the narrative, it's going to be probably worse than what someone else might have said. But I think leaders, we can still have tough conversations and provide clarity for people. And again, leave people with their humanity intact. Their employees first. Their humans first, employees second. And I think sometimes we forget that.
The lesson here, humans first, employees second. And if you need the business case for why this matters, Minda brought that too.
The data shows us that when trust is present, 74% of us are less anxious. And if trust is present, we're 21% more productive. So you tell me, I can get the most out of somebody being a little more transparent and being a little honest, or they're not going to get their work done because they're going to be fretting all day about what may or may not be coming. Right?
Story, impact, solution. And that's why Minda's conversation is one of the most important that we've had this season. Whether you're a leader trying to hold your team together through restructuring or an employee who no longer feels heard, go back and listen to this episode and also get the book, Talk to Me Nice. In a season about meeting the moment, Jocelyn Lincoln posed the question I think that will define this era of leadership. If people weren't paid, would they still follow you? That's a gut check, especially right now when teams are shrinking, workloads are expanding, and people are being asked to do more with less. Jocelyn is a transformational marketing and talent leader who drew on her experience leading a political campaign where every single volunteer chose to be there. No paycheck, no obligation, just belief. And what she learned on that campaign is that belief is the most underestimated leadership tool that we have. Not strategy, not execution, not change, a reason to believe. The kind that inspires people, not just motivates them to do things that are above and beyond. Listen to the question she posed and ask yourself honestly, would your team follow you?
Big learning for me is not really what I learned about politics, it's what I learned about people, and particularly how you capture the hearts and minds of people that are volunteering. And what I learned about that is that it is centered and built on belief. And if
Yeah.
you can capture belief and have ordinary people gather together to be invited to be a part of something that is bigger than themselves, and they have a belief in it, you can run through walls, you can move mountains, you can create magic. And those moments I think are so critical. And I left that campaign thinking that, oh, it was about the lessons of politics. And I had to step back and really say, I'm a marketing person, and I've always thought I was great on understanding the people element and consumer
Yeah.
behavior and insights. But what I really learned is about people, and I think that belief is one of the most underestimated leadership tools. I think so often leaders are about the strategy and the execution and change management and all of these big lofty words, and they miss out on the fact that, have you really connected to a belief system and an
Mhm.
individual that really inspires them, not motivates them, but inspires them to do things that are above and beyond. And I've even taken this a step further, Leilani, to think about, what if every CEO had to go into an organization and they became all volunteers? Like, would they be able to really move those people and get them to do the things that they need to do as volunteers? And I think it's just a question and a challenge for leaders. If people weren't getting paid to do what you need them to do, would they follow you? Would they do it?
And then there was this. Our executive producer, Jara Michael, decided it was time to flip the script, and she put me in the hot seat. Rapid fire questions, no prep, and no overthinking allowed. And you know what? It was one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. Because in a season where we gave you frameworks, financial roadmaps, and trust building strategies, this episode reminded us that the most practical tool you will ever have is one you've already built: your own experience, your instincts, your story. And I'll be honest, some of what came out of my mouth even surprised me. But that's the point. When you stop overthinking and just trust what you know, you realize you've been carrying the answers with you this whole time. I am still learning, but glad that I've come along to trust myself, trust my instinct, and trust my own knowing. The longer I live, the more I realize that I should trust my own gut and follow my instincts, or at least trust them enough to investigate them and be curious about them, and to trust my own knowing.
Yeah.
Don't ignore my first mind.
Yeah.
Your heart, your body, your stomach, everything will react and start to tell you, this is right for you, this is not right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's such a good one. Because I think there's so many, like we always say, like, there were so many sides. There were the red flags, but I didn't ignore them.
You know, in your personal life, in your professional life, you know, this place is for me. I can see myself here.
Yes.
I feel supported. I feel empowered. I feel like I can do good work.
Yes,
This is going to be good for me. Or I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, like, I think, you know, right? But sometimes we can think we want something so badly that we don't trust our knowing, and you end up twisting yourself into spaces that you're not supposed to be in. So let me bring it all together. This season was about meeting the moment and giving you real tools for real challenges. And if I had to distill it into 6 lessons I want you to carry forward, here they are. Lesson number 1, start with self-compassion. Losing a job is not a verdict on your worth. Before you can rebuild anything, extend grace to yourself, and that's the foundation. Thank you, Dr. Helen Riess. Lesson number 2, Disruption. Whether it's a layoff or AI reshaping your industry, it's not the end. It's a setup for reinvention. And Rachel Tully gave us the strategy to seize what's next with precision and purpose. Thank you, Rachel. Lesson number 3, know your numbers. In a time of mass layoffs, financial clarity is the difference between a panic move and a power move. Mike Daniels gave us the step-by-step roadmap. Thanks, Mike. Lesson number 4, trust is the first casualty of workplace uncertainty, and it's a language every leader and team member needs to learn to speak. Minda Harts gave us a framework that we can start using right now. Thank you, Minda. Lesson number 5, lead with such conviction that people would follow you even without a paycheck. In a world where everything is shifting, belief is the most underestimated leadership tool. And that's what Jocelyn Lincoln shared. Thank you, Jocelyn. And lesson number 6, trust your own voice, your career experiences, your instincts, your story in a world full of noise and uncertainty. That is our greatest asset. Thank you, Jaira Michael, for being our executive producer this season and also giving me the opportunity to remind us all of that. And with that, we're going to wrap up season 3 of Giant Steps with Leilani Brown. This season was built with intention. We saw what was happening, the layoffs, the uncertainty, the anxiety about AI and the future of work, and we made a choice to meet you exactly where you are. Every single guest, every conversation, every episode was designed to give you something real and practical, and something that you could use right now, not someday, not any day, not in theory, but today. And that's always been the spirit of the show. Big change doesn't happen overnight. It starts with a single step, a small spark, one amazing conversation, and I hope that these conversations gave you something, a tool, a strategy, a new perspective, or maybe just a reassurance that you're not alone in whatever transition you are navigating. Now, I have to say the most important thing, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing and resharing these episodes with your friends, your colleagues, and your team. Thank you for sending me messages and telling me which moments landed. Thank you for engaging here and elsewhere on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, and also on LinkedIn. You are the reason why we do this, and I don't take that for granted. So here's what's next. Season 4 is coming. We're already planning some incredible conversations, and I cannot wait for you to hear what we have in store. So you don't want to miss a thing. So please stay subscribed to all of our channels wherever you're listening or watching right now: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Audible, iHeartRadio. So you'll be the first to know when season 4 debuts. Subscribe to our Substack at giantstepsllc.substack.com to get updates, behind the scenes, reflections, and resources delivered straight to your inbox. This is not goodbye, it's just a pause before the next giant step. I'm Leilani Brown. Thank you for being part of season 3. Now go out there and take your next giant step. I'll see you soon. This podcast is a production of Giant Steps LLC, a company working at the intersection of strategy, culture, career, and education. I'm Leilani Brown, CEO and host of the show. Many thanks to Jaira Michael, our executive producer, and S. Maxwell Brown, producer and editor of this episode. You can learn more about our company at giantstepsllc.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode and others. Please be sure to follow, like, and share our show far and wide. Thank you for listening.